Hey everybody, it's Rachel. Welcome back to the channel. So I recently celebrated another trip around the sun, and it got me thinking. The older I get, the older old gets. And I swear, people are determined to remind me otherwise. Like aging is some kind of a moral failure, or worse, a contagious condition. It's funny, when I was 20, I thought 40 was ancient. Now I see 20-somethings panicking about turning 30, and I just want to pat them on the head and say, darling, you haven't even met your real self yet. Just wait. Somewhere along the line, the world decided that growing older was something to fear. Like it sneaks up on you one night and ruins everything good about life. But honestly, I'm tired of the assumption that getting older means slowing down, giving up, or fading into irrelevance. It's not a disease, it's the goal. People love to talk about how much getting old sucks. You know what actually sucks? Acting like the best years of your life are behind you just because you've stopped getting carded. And no, I don't want your sympathy or your anti-aging cream. Though, let's be honest, I still might use a little bit of that because I was an idiot in my 20s and I thought sunscreen was optional. Anyway, I am not still going strong. I'm just going because that's what living looks like. You ever notice how society treats vitality like it has this expiration date? As if curiosity and adventure have a best before label? That somehow, once you hit a certain age, you're supposed to find a nice flat stretch of road and stay on cruise control. Safe, predictable, and boring as hell. I call bullshit. The truth is, I have met people in their 20s who were already old. Not because of their birth date, but because they already stopped growing. They quit being curious. They let comfort and cynicism take over. They already decided who they were and they shut the door on becoming anyone else. And I've met people in their 70s who were so alive that you could practically feel their pulse in the room. Age isn't about mileage, it's about spark. Let's be honest, why are we so scared of getting older? Is it because we're closer to the end? I mean, excuse my language, but what the fuck? Nobody gets out alive. So what exactly are we waiting for or dreading? It is such a strange thing we do, living as if the finish line is a surprise while pretending it only applies to other people. Maybe it's not the aging part we fear. Maybe it's the awareness. That sharp little reminder that time is passing and we might not have used it as wisely as we'd hoped. Newsflash, none of us have. But it's only too late to start when we're dead. And that is no reason to panic. That is a reason to pay attention. Alan Watts once said, "The meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple, and yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves." That's what I think aging is teaching me, to stop rushing, to stop trying to achieve life and actually live it. Every year, I am reminded that not everyone gets the luxury of aging. People that I have known and loved didn't get more time, and I think about that every time someone says getting old sucks. No, the alternative sucks. Getting older is a privilege. Living long enough to evolve, to change, to grow. That is the gift. Mark Twain said age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. And he was right. The only reason aging feels like decline is because someone told us it should. We treat youth like it's an accomplishment and aging like a failure, when really, youth is an accident and aging is earned. Albert Einstein put it beautifully. Do not grow old, no matter how long you live. Never cease to stand like curious children before the great mystery into which we were born. Curiosity doesn't have an expiration date. Neither does humor or courage. Growing old is inevitable, if you're lucky. Losing your fire? That's a choice. And for the record, I plan to stay stubborn, outspoken, and unapologetically sarcastic, but grounded. That part, the grounded part, took a little longer to figure out. Honestly, I wish I'd embraced that balance sooner. The smartass part was always there. The grounded part took life beating me up a few times to arrive. Now that they coexist, I'm keeping both. Because aging isn't about turning into a saint. It's about becoming more than you've ever been. When I was little, old meant anyone who didn't play outside all day or couldn't keep up with the fun. When I hit 20, old meant 30. At 30, old meant 40. At 40, old meant 60. Now I'm at the point where old just means people who have completely given up on joy. The older I get, the older old gets, because I keep moving the finish line. That's not denial, that's perspective. I have been through enough now to know that the things that really matter don't age at all. Kindness doesn't wrinkle. Curiosity doesn't fade. Laughter doesn't gray. And attitude? Attitude doesn't age. It either stays alive or it dies early. You cannot Botox your way to purpose or relevance, but you can damn well live in a way that makes both inevitable. You can let the world define aging for you, or you can decide what it looks like. I have known people who treat every birthday like a crisis, and others who treat it like another lap in the adventure. You already know which camp I'm in. I still take my Jeep off-road when I can, or I drive her totally naked. And get your minds out of the gutter, that just means doors and top off. When I take her off-road, I don't worry about what bad things could happen. I think about the adventure and the path. I'm not reckless, but I'm not scared either. That is aging. You don't stop moving because the road gets rougher. You just learn to navigate it better. If we strip it down, I think most people's fear of aging isn't about wrinkles or birthdays. It's about irrelevance. It's about feeling unseen. It's about a world that worships youth and productivity while quietly pretending not to see wisdom, especially for women. Society tells us to age gracefully, but what they really mean is age quietly. Don't take up too much space. Don't be too opinionated. Don't look like you have lived too much life. Yeah, no thanks. If I'm going to age, I'm going to do it loudly, with opinions, adventure, and probably dog hair all over my clothes. Katharine Hepburn once said, "As one goes through life, one learns that if you don't paddle your own canoe, you don't move." That is the kind of old I want to be, the kind that's still paddling. Aging is the story of becoming. It's where all the hard-won lessons finally start to make sense. I have lived through enough chapters to realize that every decade rewrites your definition of happiness, and that is a good thing. We spend so much time mourning the people that we used to be that we forget to celebrate the person we became because of them. I look back at my younger self and think, she was doing her best. She was stupid sometimes, and she's lucky she's still here, but she was doing her best. And she didn't know what I know now. That slowing down doesn't mean stopping, and getting older doesn't mean disappearing. If anything, it's the opposite. You start to see life more clearly. What matters, what doesn't, who's worth your time, and what's worth your peace. You realize you couldn't give a rat's ass about other people's opinions of you or your life, and the freedom in that is priceless. There is this quiet kind of power in that, and it's one the young have not earned yet. Experience doesn't make you invincible. It makes you calm. It makes you less reactive, less fragile, and a little more amused by things that used to wreck your mood. It's like you stop trying to win the argument and you start trying to win the day. You realize that the loudest person in the room is rarely the wisest, and that silence is sometimes the most powerful statement you can make. You realize that most things are temporary, even the hard ones, and that resilience isn't built by avoiding difficulty, but by living through it. That is what aging gives you. Clarity. And clarity is a hell of a gift. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not pretending that my body hasn't changed. It has, but it's earned it. It has survived and carried me through every bit of crap that I have thrown at it. Every stress, illness, scar, and stupid decision. It has kept me going when my mind wanted to give up. It's not perfect, but it's still here, and that is worth more than flawless skin or a smaller pant size. But I refuse to let biology be the whole story. Your body ages. Your essence evolves. There's a difference. The body keeps score, yes, but the mind, it keeps perspective. And the soul, it's ageless. I think of that every time someone tries to label me by a number. It's not denial, it's defiance. Let's face it, aging with grace is overrated. Aging with humor, honesty, a lot of rebellion, and a little bit of an I don't give a fuck attitude, that is more my speed. Maybe grace isn't about being serene and wrinkle free. Maybe it's about being unapologetically yourself, even when the world doesn't get it. Hold on. Yeah, squirrel in a tree. Betty White said it best. You don't fall off the planet once you pass a given age. You don't lose any of your sense of humor. You don't lose any of your zest for life or your lust for life, if you will. If you were a dull young person, you're going to be a dull old person. But I don't think just because years go by that you have to be that way. She nailed it. Aging well isn't about pretending to be young. It's about refusing to be invisible. It's about keeping your sense of wonder and maybe your sense of sarcasm intact. Because if there is one thing that keeps you young, it's curiosity. So maybe old isn't about the candles on your cake. Maybe it's about the stories you tell, the people you love, the boundaries you set, and the peace you protect. Maybe old is just another word for seasoned, like cast iron. The more you use it, the better it gets. And if that's what old means, sign me up. So yeah, the older I get, the older old gets, because I keep moving the finish line. And if that bothers anyone, they are welcome to stay parked right where they are. Me, I'll still be out there, still curious, still stubborn, still in motion. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. As always, take care of you, and I will see you the next time. Bye-bye.